So today, we got the big boy Scag in here, 72-inch cut, 35 horsepower EFI Kohler, and the customer is concerned that there's an oil leak. I think I know where it's coming from. The PTO switch is working sometimes. They're also having an issue where the belt is kicking off sometimes for the deck. So we're gonna take a look at those couple things. We're gonna see if we can get this sorted out. And if we don't, you probably won't be watching this footage. So we're gonna pull this thing up on the lift, see what's going on with it. If you ask me, we always gotta tie this down. You never really know what could happen. Up we go. So we're gonna run this mower for a minute and see if we can see where it's leaking from. This actually looks like it's not coming from our valve cover. It actually looks like it's coming from that base gasket. If that's leaking, that's a bit bigger of a job. Clean this up a bit better and see if we can see exactly where this whole thing is leaking from. Get this cleaned up a bit. And what do we know? There's no room. What a surprise. Okay, so now that we have this all cleaned up, and a better visual of what's going on here, we're gonna fire this thing up and see if we can see where it's leaking from. We're actually gonna go ahead and cut with this thing for a couple minutes. See if we can find that leak. It looks like we're having a totally different issue. Please. Or you guys say, well, duh, Nick. You told us in the beginning of the video that the customer said he was having an issue with the PTO. But that wasn't exactly the issue. He said that the PTO would stay on, which was causing him to not be able to turn the mower on. It wouldn't start the engine because he was sensing that the PTO was still on. So I was led to believe that it was a switch issue, but now it looks like we got something else going on. So we'll see. So it does look like that this belt is on in the correct position. So that leads me to believe we either have a clutch issue or we have an issue with the amount of voltage going to the clutch. I'm gonna get this plate off of here, see if there's something going on with that wiring under there for that PTO switch. Now typically, we would see if something's wrong with the switch, but I'm also gonna test and see if we're getting the correct voltage at the PTO switch. And if we are, then we probably got a clutch issue. Because that belt, I'm able to move it freely. There's nothing on our deck that's binding up, which sometimes could be the issue. But this time it isn't. Everything looks okay visually. So you can hear that. Watch is definitely coming on. Still nothing. I'm gonna turn this on. We're gonna grab our power probe. We're gonna hook this up and plug this in. Let me see what sort of voltage we have at that plug down there for the PTO. Forgot my little thingy. There we go. So here, we're gonna do key on. We're gonna pull that switch. Then we're gonna go up, and away. I'm gonna go ahead and get this wire off of there. Now our plug is all the way up here. It was zip tied. Oh, that's because the plug is broken just a little bit. We're probably getting low voltage. That's our voltage wire there. If that started to pull out, then it's not really making a good contact in this side of the connector. So let's take a look and see. So what I found was that it appears that that voltage wire, the one on the left, is pushed in a lot further than that pin on the right. So I think what we're gonna have to do is push that wire, this blue one here, back in and see if it stays. The tab might be messed up. We might have to replace this plug. And if we do, that's really no big deal. That could be our whole issue there. Okay, so now that you guys have a visual on that, it's gonna be a little bit easier from the top side to take a look at this. Another zip tie in here that we gotta cut to get access to this. I'm gonna pull this up. Would you look at that? I am able to pull this in and out. Let's make sure everything's off. And we're gonna get that pin out of there. I'm gonna clean this up, plug it back in, and see what happens. So these really aren't supposed to come out of here. I believe they're made so they're molded to the plug. So we broke this trying to get this out of here. So we're gonna put a new one on there and we're gonna see what happens. So we're gonna get this power probe out of the way. We actually got a new plug here, which we're gonna cut. We're gonna attach it to these wires and we're gonna get rid of this old plug. See if that does it. So if you're not really too sure what those were, you can do one at a time. That's what I'm gonna do, just so you know. We're actually gonna cut these back just a little bit further because we gotta put these two into the one. So we're gonna twist these together. We're gonna cut this, let's say, that's our ground, so that's gonna go up here. And that'll go there. We should be in business. The 1614 is just a little too small. It'll probably work, but I don't like how it's going on there. So we're definitely not using that. Okay, so we got our larger connector. Insert that. Crimp that on down. Make sure nothing wants to pull out, which it kind of does. I hate every single bit of that. One bigger wire and one not bigger wire. Maybe this time we can get the smaller connector on in there. You know what? I think that's gonna play. There's no little wires folded over or anything. It's gonna do it. You don't have any gas leaks when you're doing this. And if this doesn't do it, we need a new connector anyway, because the old one was garbage. So we'll do that. We'll get this one spliced in there. That can get thrown away. We'll clip that there. Slap a new connector on here. Connect that. Oh geez, and our battery's loose. Well, I mean, you guys can see, loose battery. I mean, I guess I probably should have checked that, but it's these things you just kind of assume are okay. I mean, that could probably be some of our issue too. It's unlikely, but it's possible. But, I mean, it is what it is. We just, you know, this is why we got to check these things. Because you just never know what's really walking into the shop. This can be cut a little bit shorter so it'll match up. A little bit better. Go ahead and heat this one on up. Flip it on over, do the other side. All right, I'm gonna tuck this back down. See if we can get that PTO to turn on, but only after we tighten down this battery. You know what, I'm actually gonna leave that bolt loose. We're gonna see, because I wanna see if that's the reason that this wouldn't turn on, or if, you know, our switch was or our plug was the issue. So we're gonna see. So now, we will plug this back in. Just have a fresh switch on here, I keep calling it a switch. I don't know why I'm doing that. I know it's a plug. I guess I just really like switches. We'll plug that in. And we'll see what's going on up on the other side. See if this bad boy works. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Well, PTO is working. See if we can get these blades to turn on finally. Same thing. So we're gonna try tightening that battery, even though I really have a feeling that's not what's gonna be the issue. Let's find that wrench. You know, it wasn't a 7/16 and it's not a 3/8, so it's gotta be a 10. It's always the 3rd or 8th wrench you grab from the drawer, every time. Okay, so tighten that on up. This is kind of really loose. The seat down, see what we got. So, unfortunately guys, that clutch is fried. That thing is junk. So I guess we'll get that off of there. Give the customer the bad news. On top of, we still haven't found this oil leak. Now we can go get our PTO off. So we will loop this belt downy and aroundy, get this all loosened up. We're gonna have to take that off, 3 bolts there, undo our electrical connection, get this belt up out of the way. And we'll undo this, see what happens. So we're gonna get this PTO off of here and get rocking and rolling. And yeah, somewhere local has one, so we'll go grab that. I'm not a Scag dealer. Will this spin enough to get out of the way? No, it will not, so we're gonna have to move that. We might be able to just spin that out of the way just a little bit. Okay, so that bracket's off. We'll do a little snip here. Now with any luck, this PTO will just pull right down, but it's not going to. It's coming. There we go. See, when we put this back together, we're gonna put anti-seize on here, because, you know, we know the company never does. And there we go. There's our PTO. All right, so we got the new PTO, but before we put that on there, I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit, just some real fine sandpaper. So when this happens again, someone has to take this off, could be me. Might not be, I don't know. Then it just pulls right off and we don't have to hit it with the hammer again. So we will clean this off. Apply some anti-seize. Not too much, you really just want a real thin coat, especially on that keyway. We'll put some on the PTO side, and they're all nice like. So now we got a brand new PTO, and this thing shouldn't cause any issues. Some of you guys might say, oh Nick, well, why didn't you try and find a used PTO? Or why didn't you try and, get one off of Amazon? And I'm gonna tell you why. Because first of all, this clutch with this part number, a lot of these clutches on these machines are interchangeable, but this one specifically has to run this 72-inch deck. I can't find any specs from Scag, but when I look up the extreme part number, it tells me that this specific clutch with this part number holds 400 foot-pounds of torque. Now the other ones are 225 or 275 or something, which is significantly less considering. We're running a bigger deck. We need that torque to be able to run this. So anyway, did I look for an aftermarket? Yes, I did. It was the same price as this one right from Scag. And my local dealer had one. I'm not a Scag dealer. I didn't really see one on Amazon. And for something like this, I typically won't install that anyway, just because I like when the customer gets their things back and they work. And they keep working. And I don't want to, have them call me in a week and say, oh, Nick, you saved me $100, but, the mower isn't working again. And at the end of the day, electrical parts aren't returnable. And this is considered an electrical part. So if I get a bad one, then I am out the money because I'm not going to charge the customer twice for it. I mean, if they ran into a rock and damaged it, different story. But if I put a part on their machine that is no good, then that comes back to me. And it looks bad on your business because then people, they might not come back. Or they might say, oh, this guy, put Chinese parts on my machine. Now listen, sometimes I give people the option. I'm not an OEM only sort of guy. I use plenty of aftermarket stuff. But sometimes in cases like this, it's really not worth it. So your bolt, make sure your bolt's clean. Apply some Loctite. Try and get this lined up without yelling and screaming. That one really wasn't too bad. Get our socket, in this case it's a 5/8. Tighten that bad boy up. And then we will get our stopper back on there. Hang there for just a second. So everything's just gonna be left just a little bit loose here in order to get this position right. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and tighten this all up. See, this was rubbing on the clutch. So this was not adjusted properly at some point. This is very, very annoying. Loosen that one up just a little bit. Push that up. And then, we should be right at our spot. We'll route our cable. Lug that on in. There we go. Make sure those wires didn't push out again, because sometimes they kind of really like to. So, everything looks okay. I'm still gonna grab the back side of this wire and make sure that it didn't try and push it out. Okay, looks good. The connector is clipped. Throw a couple zip ties on here and we'll be on our way. This is how I'm gonna route this wire, just so we know we're not gonna get anything caught anywhere. If we leave it too close to the spring, we run the chance of it rubbing on the spring and then breaking this wire eventually. If we have it too close to this clutch, this does move back and forth just a tiny bit, and that'll rub eventually. So we're gonna prevent that. It'll probably take years, but you know, why if we can prevent it? So we're gonna zip right here. And I think that'll be okay. We also don't want it hanging down too far. That's an issue also. That's an issue in itself. You know, if we, run over sticks or something, it could get caught and it could rip that out. Highly unlikely, but it could definitely happen. So we're gonna route that way. That's gonna get tied up further on the top of the machine. And then we're gonna see how this thing runs. So we got our new belt. We'll put this through, up this way. And we're gonna release this again. It is a heavy spring. Put it on. Okay, so let's fire this thing up. Make sure this PTO is working. Put this deck up. So it turns out, after sitting for a few days, we can see that it is coming from the bottom of the valve cover. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that off of there, and we will replace that seal. Hopefully I can get it off without removing all this. That would be pretty cool, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. It might. Probably a T30, T40. Got some gloves on. Take this off of here, see what we're dealing with. Oh, we can get it off. Nice. So we will peel this off of here. Check and see if any of this is damaged. Doesn't look like it. But so from the past of me doing dirt bikes, valve cover gaskets on those always leak. And this is pretty much the same style. You really do need a bead in here. They always leak. When they're brand new, they leak. So we'll get this all cleaned out. But Nick, you're spraying the plastic with the brake cleaner. Isn't that gonna make it weak? It's fine. Done this a bunch of times. You know, the things you read on the internet are a lot different than the things that you actually do. And a lot of people don't understand that. And it's okay. It really is okay. But we're doing this and we're cleaning it. We're gonna get it back on there and it's not gonna leak. So we'll get this whole surface cleaned up. Make sure none of your paper towel is left on there or jammed anywhere, because that's bad news. I've seen that before. People leaving paper towel places that they shouldn't be leaving paper towel. Actually, I found it one time in a crankcase of a 400EX, four-wheeler, for those of you that don't know what that is. Whole paper towel in the oil sump. It actually ended up blowing the motor, which is why, I had it, but things like that. You just got to pay attention when you're doing these things. And, a lot of the time it's okay. It's a lawnmower. We'll go ahead and put some RTB on this. We're probably going to make a mess at first. I'm going to try really not to, but I'll end up spreading that out. Just want a tiny bead in there. Otherwise, this makes a whole mess. Obviously, we're way too thick in some of these spots. I'll spread this all out just a little bit in there. And I'll wipe everything clean so we don't have an absolute mess everywhere. Why wipe all this off? Because we don't really want to get any inside this engine. Which, you know, I know people that they'll use half the tube on this. It's only got to do a little bit. Like, it'll be okay. You know, we'll clean up the outside of that once it's on there. Lay this new seal in there and go to town. That way it goes in. Put a tiny little bit just on this surface. So we'll install this. Hopefully we don't run into anything else or get anything on anywhere else. We don't want it. Put that on there. Looks like we're in the right spot. Install our bolt. But first, clean this surface. I don't even know what the spec is on this, but it's definitely not too tight. You'll feel it bottom, which right there it bottomed. And then we'd want to go just a little bit more, because it can only get so tight. And then it all looks pretty good. Except right here, it looks like it pushed out a little bit, which I don't like. Maybe this new gasket's a little bit thicker, which is what's freaking me out. I think it'll be okay. So I'm gonna go run this for a bit and make sure it's not leaking. So we're also doing a new PTO switch because that's what the customer wanted. Which way was this on? This way. Slip that on in there. And it came with this new style plug. This is the updated one from Scag. The dealer didn't know why there was an updated one, but if any of you guys know, comment. I am kind of curious as to why. The guy at the dealer said it's more durable. I don't know what that means. It doesn't really make any sense to me. But that's on there, clicked on there. And there's a lot less room in here too for that, so that's interesting. I guess we'll see. Screw these down. Battery retainer back. I mean, we'll be able to. It's just, I don't know if I can do it without tools. Oh, there we go. We'll check our oil level. Give that a nice wipe. We're good. We're at the top level. I did add a quart a little earlier. So no reason it shouldn't be full. Let's give this thing a shot. So it was a success, no leak. Made sure, cleaned it up again. And I think we're really good to go. So thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this, great. If not, whatever. Don't watch anymore. I don't care.